Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast for Detroit concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, and more. It's Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
Hey, I am the new guy in the Detroit area. That's the that's the log line we're going with, I guess. That's the plot.
That is this scheme of things, and I am the native.
It's mostly true.
Mostly. I don't know. I'd say it's pretty true. I know a lot more than you about a lot of things, but
yeah, that's not
Detroit.
just because I'm the new guy. I think that's just because you're smarter than I am.
Well, I didn't say that, but you know more about TV than I do.
That's what it's going to say on my tombstone.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to talk about in today's show. We've got Greg Russell, the movie guy from, Live in the D on WDIV and all the other things that he's involved with. This guy basically just hangs out with celebrities when he's not in Detroit.
And watches movies.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to be on his tombstone. We're going to talk to him about all the big summer movies that he's excited about.
And I'm going to tell you about Detroit's new winery. Big deal.
It is, because it's been like 60 years,
long
right?
time.
It's been a long time since there's been a winery in Detroit.
Yeah, super exciting.
And I can't tell whether that's...
You're not sure what to think about it?
Well, because do cities normally have wineries? Is there a winery in Chicago or a winery in New York City?
I would think so.
Right.
Yeah, but Detroit's unique in the sense that we've got a lot of land in which to do vineyards. So.
All right, cool. And on Friday's show, don't forget, we've got Paul Reiser Jr. of Techtown, Detroit. He's going to come in and talk about this program. I'm super excited about this.
Me too.
This is the Motown Musician Accelerator Program. It's basically a program to take little baby musicians who are trying to get their career up and off the ground and give them all the resources they need, and in 12 weeks grow them into full-blown,
blooming.
Yeah,
yes,
like
big boy pants.
It's
musician.
like that kindergarten project where you take the moth and you see it get into the cocoon and then it comes out a butterfly.
Yes.
That's what this is for musicians.
Very similar.
Let's meet today's guest host.
The D Brief.
Coming back for day number 2, she is a stand-up comedian who has opened for Dave Attell, Jeff Ross, Jim Norton, and Dave Landau, former guest on the show as well.
Yes, love him.
And she's got her debut album out, It Was My Birthday. Welcome back, Tonya Murray.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
Oh, nice. Now, you are a stand-up comedian, but you also write. You mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, that's where I started, was the writing.
Okay.
What kind of things were you writing?
I mean, I was constantly writing down just one-line things that I thought were funny, and I mean, I had like 25 pages of just ideas that I wanted to use in my writing for books or movies or whatever. I was going to write just things that I thought were funny or clever.
Do you go back to that now and look up the things that you wrote before?
Actually, I do. And when I started taking the class at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle to do stand-up, because when I started looking through all those notes, I'm like, this is all stand-up material. I could use all of this. So I had so much material right when I started that class.
Oh, but you didn't know it was stand-up when you wrote it down.
No, it wasn't my intention.
It was more of a story for film.
A story for a film or just something funny I thought I would use. If I say something funny, I would write it down and think I can use this in some sitcom later.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been logging it forever.
Huh.
Now I can put it to use.
Would that be your ideal, to do a sitcom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So who are the writers you admire or the sitcoms that you really like?
Yeah.
Actually, my dream job would actually be to write for SNL. That's my dream job.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I could do anything once I did that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Do you have favorite sitcoms?
I have, I love, and it's mostly the goofy stuff, the Modern Family, and I mean, there's always a heart to their stories, but the Goldbergs is one of my absolute favorites right now, and I always loved, Seinfeld and Friends and Married with Children.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Classics.
Now, you were involved at one point with the Detroit 48-hour film competition.
Yes.
Yeah, what is that like?
It's super cool because on Friday night you have groups, and on Friday night you get your information that you have to use in your film, and then you have to have everything shot, edited, and turned in on Sunday night by like 5 o'clock, whatever the deadline is. Whoa. And you have to have all these things in it.
What do you mean information that you, like, what do they give you that you have to use?
Well, they're going to tell you, like we had, I think the first one, I'm trying to even think all the different can't even think of the word. Like if it's going to be a detective story or if it's going to be
genre.
The genre. Thank you. You have to pick like basically out of a hat for your group what your genre is, and then there might be a character name that has to be in there. There might be an item, like a banana or something. There's some item that you have to work in. They'll give you a few different things so that people aren't ahead of time doing everything and then saying it was done in 48 hours.
So this is like
It's
Iron Chef. Yeah, right.
checked.
Exactly. With
movies.
films. Oh, so what were your films about?
Yeah.
The first one that I did was California Dreamin', and it was just such a great time to be a part. Like I didn't even know these writers when I started this, and so to be in a room with all these creative people and we just worked together really well.
Wow.
I mean, and you're not getting much sleep over the next 2 days because you're up all night writing because the actors and actresses are in place to get ready the next day to start filming. So you're up all night writing your script and finalizing everything. And I did one where I was the lead writer called Blameless. That was a lot of fun, and that was more of a detective story mystery. But sometimes we're shooting them in different locations around Detroit, but then we're finding that it's so hard, you're so limited with time that if you have one location, it's a lot easier.
Sure.
And then they show them. There's a day that they show them all at a movie theater, and it's just really cool to see these films, all what everybody put together over the course of a couple days. It's amazing, but it's really fun to be a part of it.
Anyone can enter, or how?
Yeah, anyone can enter. You can join groups. I had a friend who was involved with it, and she got me brought into this group, and then I just wanted to be a part of it year after year. But yeah, you get some really creative people, and they just work well as a team, and it's just a great experience.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, that's cool. You've also got a couple of shows coming up.
I've got, a couple big shows in June coming up at the Holly Hotel. I'll be headlining there June 21st and 22nd, so I'm super excited about that.
If you've never headed out there, this is a great place to see a show.
And if people are coming to see you, what can they kind of expect in terms of your style? Or
I talk a lot about dating. I'm trying to work in more family stories of growing up and what it was like growing up and stuff, and I know people can really relate to that, but it's just a different female take on dating, but I talk more like a guy, I guess you would say. So it kind of can, it's not like they're going to come out and go, oh, she's just talking about female issues, because that's not the case whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's more like how I talk with my friends about dating and what women really say, about the men we date and stuff, and just sharing the horror stories of what I have to go through.
I'm sure. Okay. And so does that kind of, your moniker, Rowdy Tonya, does that kind of play into that?
That plays into it.
Love it.
Well, very cool. Well, hang out and enjoy the show. We're glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Brave.
Becky, let's talk about food and drink.
Yeah. So are you all wine people?
Totally wine people.
Oh, you're a good wine person. Yeah. You like wine.
Look at this belly. I like
I know
wine.
you love the beer, but you like it all.
I like wine. If it's got alcohol in it, I'll drink it. I haven't found one that... Yeah. No, I do like wine.
I appreciate the wine as well. And this is really cool because it's Detroit's first winery to open in 60 years. So it opened last weekend. Just delightful, super friendly place. It's called Detroit Vineyards. They actually founded it in 2014, but it's taken time to get all this going and plant the vineyard and all that kind of stuff. But they're producing wine, cider, and mead with grapes grown in Detroit.
So
that's super cool.
The grapes are... You can grow grapes in Detroit?
Yes. And there's obviously, land for vineyards.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think probably they're supplementing some, till it gets fully going. But.
See, I really do like wine tasting. Like, I like, again, this is me getting old, but I do like that experience of going into a winery and doing the tasting. And, we've done it on the other side of the state a couple of times. But you're right. You can't do it right here in Detroit.
No. So I'm anxious to, see what they taste like, what the atmosphere
is. That's really exciting.
I saw a little, tour. Was on one of the news stations, and it looks like a really cool space. There's areas just for general wine tasting, or your private areas where you can rent for parties and things.
Reds and whites?
I believe so.
All right.
And then, of course, these ciders and meads. So
I love the ciders.
Yeah. So it's 1000 Gratiot Avenue is where it is. So a very famous building. So it's in the Eastern Market area. It was the Stroh's ice cream production facility. So a lot of people know that place. And but that's sat vacant for 10 years. So that's a huge other upside that they're reusing one of these really cool historic buildings.
You know what I love to get on these wine tastings is the ice wines.
Oh my gosh, they're so
sweet
good.
dessert ones.
Oh,
But
see, I
yes.
don't like those.
Oh, I love, but they're like $700 a bottle. So yeah, I only
It's
get
like
them a
crack.
tasting.
My friend
Syrup.
brought one. We have these girls' nights where we get together and we'll order pizza, but we'll have wine
Yeah.
with it. And she had brought this bottle of ice wine, and we were like licking the glass when it was empty. We're like, "What is
Yeah.
in this?" No wonder it's so expensive.
Yeah, the honey. Yeah, I like the drier kind, but yeah, at least the dessert ones you only need a little, like to get. Yeah.
See, I like my red spicy, my whites sweet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so.
To each his own. Yeah, that works. So one of the ways I think to really appreciate a city and kind of get your lay of the land and great views is to get up high, whatever like tower or cathedral or something. And so a really fun way to do that is rooftop bars. And I just feel like in Detroit, we really haven't had that scene. Like when I take tour groups downtown and I want them to see the city, I go to the top of the Z Garage. And of course, you can't order a salad and a drink.
I'm trying to think. The only place I've done that is in the Rensen, in the restaurant that closed.
Oh, Coach Insignia.
Yeah, Coach Insignia is the
Right,
only
and
place.
that wasn't even rooftop because
But it
it's
was
not
a good
open
view.
air,
It
but
was
it's
a
a good
really
view.
good view, yeah.
But yeah, there's like a few in Greektown, the more like club type atmosphere.
Yeah, we've
it's
been
not-
to places in
parties and-
Greektown, but
There's a spot, on top of the Opera House, and then there's like private ones, like the DAC.
you gotta
has
know
a-
somebody.
Or you belong. We host Matrix Human Services. We host a great fundraiser party every summer on top of the music hall. That's a great rooftop, super fun. But I think this is something that's been
But wait,
really
is
untapped.
is that an actual rooftop that's used for something, or
It
or
is.
it's a
So you can
space
rent
that
it
you-
out for, yes, it's got furniture. They have a whole setup and bar and everything, but it's not always open. They do a nightclub called, I think it's called the Annex.
Do you have a rooftop bar that you go to? That's like your.
My go-to? No, I know years ago, the rooftop bar on the Hockeytown Cafe. I know they had a lot of events there, so I went there for things. But that's
Yeah.
the only one I can think of downtown that I've been to.
Right. And we
Yeah.
have all these great buildings. So this I'm so excited about. It's going to be atop the Metropolitan Building. Again, a building that was sitting vacant and crumbling for a long time now. It's beautifully restored. It has a hotel in it. So the rooftop bar is going to be called the Monarch Club, and it will be the highest rooftop bar in the city.
And I don't know which one the Metropolitan Building is. Which one? Where is that?
It's right downtown. I'll show you on a map, but it's like center of town. Like this could be a great view, 360. So it's going to be a club, but they're kind of marketing it as a place where you can really have conversations, like more of a chill type thing, and get your drinks and your small plates. And
That's cool. So for Sweetest Day last year, my girlfriend got me a helicopter ride over the city, and it was an amazing way to see the city. And I'd never seen. I mean, Coach
That's
I would love to
cool.
do
was
that.
was the closest thing to it. So
Yeah, I would
if
love
I
to
could
see
do
that.
that and be drinking at the same time,
that's the thing. It's magical. I'm like a summer night to be on top of a roof.
yeah. But
Yeah.
they frown upon that in the helicopter. You're not allowed to bring.
No, yeah. Yeah, I just did this. I was just in New York City over the weekend, and I was like, I just got to get up on a rooftop. So actually, I was seeing a friend of the show, Mahogany Jones, who's moved back out there, and we found it wasn't a great bar or anything, but just to be up there with people on a nice day. We had one nice day over the weekend, and it was overlooking the train station and Penn Station.
Right.
And just watching all the action from that spot.
They do that out there because that's all you have.
Well, you've got to use all your space.
Right.
Go up.
It took me a long time to realize this, that I did not like New York City. I mean, I'll visit every now and then, but I'm not I could not live in New York City.
Oh, I couldn't live there either. Yeah.
But LA I was okay with, and I could never figure out why. And what I finally figured out is that LA is wide, New York is tall. And so wherever you are in New York, you're standing in the shadow of a building. And
Right.
you actually don't get sun on you. And so
you gotta get up
You
there.
got to get up high, and that
Right.
was it. And so whereas here in Detroit, obviously it's very
more
spread
spread
out, so you can get sun.
But getting less so, especially
anywhere.
downtown.
Yeah, but no, it'd be nice to have a great rooftop spot to go to.
Yeah.
That would be that would be
I
awesome.
can't wait to check it out. I'm sure it'll be immensely popular. So, how about spicy foods? Speaking of something else, like,
Not a fan.
dislike? No,
Not a fan.
Can't do it. What
Can't
about-
do it.
Seth, you like the spice, don't you? The Spice
No,
Girls?
I'm a wuss.
Oh, you are. I didn't realize this.
It's not so much going in. I mean, I'm not trying to be gross, but it's the next day.
So it doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
You
doesn't-
like it.
It's like, it doesn't agree with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my
it's,
nose will run. My nose just immediately, my lips turn purple and my nose runs. It's not
I'm
fun.
okay with that, though. Like, you know, I mean, there's a certain, not my nose. Not
Not your nose. No, it depends. Like, I like flavor, but it can cross quickly into that. It's so spicy that you can't even taste it, and it's just like painful. Whereas, like, my husband, he loves spicy stuff so much. He's like, the better my head sweats, the
It seems
the
like
greater
that's
the
a
experience.
guy thing. It seems guys love to just sweat while they eat. Like that's this. I don't know what it is.
Food
but
doesn't have to be spicy for me to sweat while I eat it. I mean, it's just,
True enough.
in the quantities that I consume the food, it's
Depending on how hot the
it
day
makes me
is and such.
When I lived in Boston, I ran this dining group, and one of the things we did, there was a restaurant there that had something called Hell Night, where and it was an open kitchen, and they would use these peppers that I think they make mace out of, and
Yeah, like the ghost pepper,
yes,
the habanero.
and they would throw them on the griddle, and just everybody in the place would start coughing.
Oy.
Right, and they rated all the foods on the menu from 1 to 10 bombs. Right, they charged you $5 for a glass of milk. And one of the things that they did is they had something called meatball roulette. So you would go with a party, and everybody at the table would get a meatball.
Some spicy, some not.
Most of them were 2 bombs. A couple of them were 9 bombs.
Oh, good God.
Yeah.
And you had no idea what
Who
you
was
got,
gonna-
and
yeah.
everybody had to try it.
Well, that's what those shishito peppers are like. If you order those in a restaurant, it's like 1 of every 10 is going to be spicy, and just
I got one of the 9 bomb meatballs.
ay.
And how many glasses of milk did you drink?
I
Yeah.
did not go to work the next day.
Really? Oh my goodness! Wow. Well, so I don't know. I think Tonya, you will not like this. Seth, it depends. There's a new fire and spice menu at Buddy's Pizza. So they've got a couple items with honey sriracha, including chicken tenders and a chicken type of pizza with the sriracha sauce on it. There's a new spicy Southwest veggie pizza. This sounded kind of good. Cheese, roasted red peppers, roasted garlic, red onions, jalapenos, and a cilantro lime drizzle. And then they're also going to feature a jalapeno margarita on this new fire and spice.
I like those.
I do like the drinks with the little, yeah.
I'm looking at this menu. I would be in on this. Absolutely.
I had one, I don't remember what bar I was at, but it was like a mango habanero type of cocktail. Like get the sweet and then it hits the back of your
I
throat.
love that
yeah,
stuff.
I do like that.
Yeah. So.
I'm alone on this one.
Yeah. Well, everybody has their preferences, right? So I wanted to give, I guess this is somewhat of a shout out. I think it's just a really cool thing that happened. There was flooding. We had so much rain last week, and Southfield Freeway was flooded.
I saw the photos. It was 14
Yeah.
feet of water. Did you see these?
No.
Oh, the whole 14 feet.
Surprising, yeah.
The whole thing was
freeway
underwater.
closed. We just got so much rain so quickly. Like I avoided it. I would normally take that way to the airport for my flight Friday, but I didn't go that way because I figured it would still be a mess. And I didn't realize a lot of homes actually flooded.
Yeah.
So people were losing stuff, damage, and then the consequence of like losing your electricity and all the stuff in your fridge. So this guy that owns Leon's Restaurant in Dearborn on Michigan Avenue, he's been feeding families affected by the flood. He's like, come on in, have food for free
That's super cool.
as long as you need it.
Yeah.
So wanted to give a shout out to that guy.
Action. This is the Deep Brief.
All right, Tonya, every now and then we like to have somebody on the show who's just smarter than us about a particular subject, that they have an area of expertise. It's not hard to find, really. Right. One of our favorites is Greg Russell. He is an Emmy award-winning producer, celebrity interviewer for Live in the D on WDIV and clickondetroit.com. He hosts Movie Show Plus, which airs statewide. He's also a contributor to the Reels channels Notorious and Fortune Fights. And this dude just basically watches a lot of movies and he hangs out with celebrities. That's what he does.
Tough life.
He flies around the world. Where were you just now? London, Greg?
I was just in London again. Yes.
Yeah. Tough
Hanging
life.
out with Lily Collins.
and New York. I missed him in New York by one day.
Oh,
I
Right.
know.
Hanging out with Lily Tomlin.
No.
Is that what you said?
Actually, and also John Wick, Keanu Reeves.
wow.
we were there for that. And Halle Berry, even though she was sick, but she was still great.
I got to get a job like that.
I know, right?
All right, let's talk about the big news in movies, which is Avengers Endgame just being the biggest thing on the planet in the history of everything, right?
Movies.
It beat Ugly Dolls to death this weekend.
Yeah.
So... it could have.
Let's say this. First of all, we decided this last week. You weren't here, Becky, but we decided that officially a week is how long you have to avoid giving out any spoilers. So we're past that because I know you haven't seen it.
No,
And
I'm
Tonya,
okay.
you?
I have not seen it.
All right. So,
I can live.
Greg, we can do spoilers here, and this is just going to be you and me having a geeky guys conversation here. But
Again, not a hard thing to do. But
Cover your ears, ladies.
Yes.
we should alert listeners, though. Yeah, if you don't.
I think we just did. I
Yeah,
think we're
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
you fast forward for 10 minutes if you haven't seen this, or just kill yourself. Either way,
No, do not do that. No.
it was great, wasn't it, Greg? Did you like it,
It
as much
was.
as I did?
It was. I mean, it was 3 hours of, just action, suspense, things to make you laugh, things to make you cry. It was kind of like the total package. It still needed more Brie Larson in it for me, but that's just because I like her a lot.
I do too.
She's a weird character to shoehorn into this, though, because she's so powerful. You know what I mean? Like, I actually thought they did the best that they could do with that character because I don't know. We're getting to the point where what amazes me about these films is they have so many characters.
Oh,
And
right.
they juggle them so well, and there are literally characters who are off screen for 3/4 of a movie, and then they come back. You get a guy like Doctor Strange or Spider-Man who isn't in the movie for the first 75% because he's been sucked off into snapped out of existence. Right. And then when he comes back, they give him a real emotional beat.
Oh, yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody, I still remember like when Black Panther first reappeared, after everything was over. People at our screening were cheering. It was the press screening, and it's like press people never cheer for anything. So, everybody was, like you said, excited for that. And also, again, going along with what you said, there may have been 90 characters in there, but we all knew who all 90 were and know about their backgrounds, know about their personalities and stuff. So it's kind of like, every time a person was on screen, you were invested in their character.
Yeah, no, I really was. And there was a lot of payoff because I actually went back between Infinity War and this coming out, and we rewatched all of them. Even, God forbid, Thor: The Dark World, which is terrible.
You rewatched all of those.
Yes, including some that I hadn't seen. And it was worth it because this film really, because there's time travel involved. And so they go back to some of the other movies or some moments, or they answer like little riddles or little lines or questions that are raised in other films. I mean, it is, they really mapped this out. I mean...
No, I appreciate that, but I don't know if I need to do a bunch of hours of homework for a movie.
I got to say, for a movie project, I mean, is there anything that's even close to as ambitious as this has been?
Probably not.
I mean, I can't, nothing comes to mind. How about you, Greg? Like Star Wars, but not really.
No, I mean, this even seems to be bigger than, any Star Wars movie that's come out as of late. And I agree with you, Seth. My family went to go see the movie on Sunday. I had already seen it. And so Saturday night, they watched Infinity Wars. Like you said, and they said that they were happy that they did because then they remembered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you said, even in that movie, there was so much going on. You weren't necessarily going to remember everything, especially a couple of years after it's passed. But, like I've told people on the air, if you don't see it, fine, you'll still be good. But if you get an opportunity to check that one out, do it.
So this movie has time travel in it. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is I think everybody's conception of time travel is based on one single movie, which is Back to the Future.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Which my girlfriend had never seen until I took her to see it at your event at Imagine
Oh, my
Theater there.
gosh.
She'd never seen it
such
before.
a classic. I like Quantum Leap. Remember that TV show? So,
Oh, yeah.
But I think Back to the Future more than anything else defined how we think about time travel. And there are alternate theories of time travel out there that are different, that frankly are kind of hard to understand if you've seen Back to the Future and at a young age and it's implanted in your brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this movie completely rejected the Back to the Future theory of time travel.
Right. They
you
didn't
were
have
okay
a
with
flux
that?
capacitor or anything.
No, but yeah, I mean, yes. First, there's no flux capacity, but there's also this thing where they're like, look, the present is just what you're experiencing, and if you go back in time, you're still in your present. It's weird,
Right.
Oh, right.
It's
you keep your place in time.
yes,
Right.
and so you can't change the future or yourself by going back in time and altering
Right,
something.
right.
So you can't have that moment that Marty McFly does where he looks at his hand
And yeah.
and it turns invisible because he went back in time and did
Sure,
some things.
sure.
Right.
So what I'm being told now, what I'm hearing now on my Facebook feed is that people are upset about the new Spider-Man trailer because it gives away a lot of what Marvel's going to do with Avengers moving forward, which is essentially they're going to use this time travel thing to basically, shoot off all these alternate versions of the universe.
Okay.
And there's some politics involved in this, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's some stuff going on with studios and who owns what and this, that, the other thing, right, Greg?
Right. Disney owns the world. I mean, first of all, they own their own properties, which are big and have always been big. And like you said, they own the Marvel movies, or at least all the great ones, great titles, and Star Wars. And then they just bought 20th Century Fox. And they've also got plans to buy the moon. They're almost done in negotiations with that.
Oh, well, sure. Go for it. Yeah.
Right.
But they haven't always had, there's always been this question of sort of these other Marvel properties, like X-Men or like Fantastic Four, and how they were ever going to fit into the Marvel universe. I mean, even when they brought Spider-Man in, because they didn't have Spider-Man for a while, and then they brought Spider-Man in. And this time travel thing kind of allows them to do that, right?
Right. Because, and like you said, they'll figure out a way. Because once they get the property, I mean, just like when they bought Star Wars, there's a new Star Wars movie every year. Disney already made back the $1 billion or whatever it is that they spent to buy the Star Wars universe. So their deal is whatever they bought, they want to pay it off and make sure everything else is, for the most part, pure profit. And then once Disney, say, starts doing the Fantastic Four, maybe they'll get the casting right, and, we'll have a good one.
Right.
Because, that's what happened. Remember with the one that came out a couple of years back? It was just kind of like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I just remember the ending of that when you're going, that's it? That's it? I mean, basically, they dumped a bucket of water on the bad guy's head and he melted, just like the Witch and the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And you're just kind of going, okay. Well, now that they've got it, they'll probably, make it all big and glamorous, and people will be walking around with their Fantastic Four shirts on.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. You a Star Wars fan, Tonya?
Not really. I was when I was a kid.
I am.
Darth Vader's Luke's father, if you didn't know that.
Damn it.
We're
Spoiler
past the week.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, let's look at this summer, because this is obviously the season when big movies come out. What do we got coming this summer? Anything that you're excited about?
I think I'm looking forward to the Elton John movie, and I'm, I know that the people who put it all together, even did some other reshoots and other different things because of the success of the Queen movie, that came out last year. So, you've got Elton John. So this character, is just as big, just as brassy. So I know that they want to make it just as good. So looking forward to seeing that one.
But wait, let me ask about this, because these music biopics are becoming a little bit formula. I mean, there is a point at which you can take Queen out and plug NWA in, and it's basically the same film.
Or the Motley Crue.
Right, or the Motley Crue.
Oh, the Dirt movie?
Yeah. So how do they make this, besides the fact that it's just a different musician?
I think, if you're a fan, you're going to go, it doesn't matter that it's a formulaic or, it's a biography. So, and it's got his music in it. Like, if you're a fan, you're going to be interested.
And you learn so much more that you didn't know, maybe.
Yeah. Behind the scenes.
Yeah, but...
You're such a Debbie Downer.
Come on, it's going to be Prince. It's going to be the same plot.
No, because they asked Miguel to play Prince in a movie, and Miguel said no one should play Prince. It was him, and that's that.
I'll play Prince.
I don't think people would go to see that. So
with the same height.
Yes, maybe if you start wearing heels.
All right, what else you got?
We've got John Wick 3. Good movie. I mean, it's one of those, as you all know, John Wick movies, you know what you're getting when you walk in the door. It is nonstop, violence, over the head, action, and everything. And this one, I remember just to, name drop because I just did interview the cast. When I talked to Keanu about the movie, I said, when I saw the first one, you thought, wow, this is, fantastic. How are they going to top this? Then you see part 2 and it is bigger than the first one. And then you're thinking, okay, how are they going to do that one? And part 3 is just this big out of this world thing.
I have to make a confession here. I have not seen any of the John Wick movies.
I haven't either.
I completely dismissed them out of hand because I went Keanu Reeves action film. And I have heard over and over and over again exactly what you've just said, which is that these are actually really fantastic films.
Yeah, I mean, these are the type where you go on the weekend. Another one of those where you don't even have to go through the door trying to think.
Yeah.
Think about, what's going on. All you have to know is, like in this one, at the end of part 2, Keanu's character, or John Wick, wound up getting basically excommunicated from the bad guy organization, which now meant that he had a price on his head, and everybody in the world wanted to collect on that. So that's what this whole movie is about. Just people who are trying to get after him and people who are trying to take him down. The funny part is there are like several martial arts experts in the movie who are younger than him. And they were John Wick fans, because every time, even before they started the fight, they just would go, Mr. Wick just wanted to let you know we've always been big fans of yours. All right, now we're going to kill you. Something like that. They're very proper about it.
Yes.
That happens to us on this podcast a lot, actually.
Yeah, a lot of pleasantries like that.
We're going to take things down. Yes.
So good news for you, Becky. You don't have to watch 20 superhero films to go watch this one.
Phew! Ain't nobody got time for that.
Let me also ask you, mentioned Disney earlier. There seems to be a trend that Disney is taking its old cartoons and turning them into live action films. We've got Aladdin coming out. We've got The Lion King. What's your take on this?
Again, it's one of those just trying to, make it appealing to another generation, because you got to figure that most of the young kids now, since their parents, if their parents are young enough, grew up watching the original Lion King, original Aladdin. And from what I hear from friends of mine, when their kids were growing up, they just put those movies on in their bedroom and let them go. And, their kids fell in love with them. So the kids have now seen the animated one. And so they're trying to do this. So it's like, hey, come on, we've got some more sugar for you to try over here.
Right.
Live action Aladdin, type thing. And it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's go check this out because it's the same but different. So, yeah, Disney will rehash whatever they can do.
All right, around the room though, Will Smith as the genie.
Yeah.
I like Will Smith.
I like him a lot.
I like him a lot too. But
it seems a little goof.
Yeah, I'd rather have my parents just don't understand part 2.
Yeah.
Actually, we saw a trailer, and I'm trying to remember what I think it's called in West Philadelphia or something like that. There's a new movie or movie series coming out that's basically the dramatic version.
No. I don't think that's real, but I totally saw what you're talking about.
Oh.
I think
it's a spoof?
I think it was. I think it's this filmmaker who made like this trailer for The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air if it were dramatic.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
That sounds good.
It really is. I was going to say, if this is a spoof, boy, that guy should get hired.
He should.
Oh.
Yeah, it's incredibly well done.
Oh, but there's no real movie.
But I don't think there is a real movie. We got to find out. But no, I'm pretty sure there's not. But, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show. We love talking to you.
Thank you. I love coming on this show.
I love talking to you about Avengers, even if Becky won't indulge me.
No.
And here's a spoiler for
There's
you, ladies.
for everyone.
And for everyone out there. But all my friends who I told this to thanked me for it. You know how usually at the end of Marvel movies you sit through the closing credits because they're always usually bound to put 1 or 2 special things in it?
Yes.
There's nothing at the end of this movie, just closing credits.
Oh, thank God, because it's already 3 hours. So
Right, so after sitting there for 3 hours,
as soon
as you see the closing credits, go to the bathroom.
Okay, nice.
And laugh at everybody who's still sitting there for another 10 minutes to see.
Yes.
All right, Greg Russell, thank you so much. People can catch you on Live in the D on WDIV, as well as a million other places talking about movies, including Movie Show Plus. Thanks so much for checking in.
Thank you so much for having me, as always. Love it.
This is the deep. This is the deep brief. This is the deep brief.
Becky, let's put a quick plug in here for Michigan
Sure.
Podcast Productions. You know the drill. We've been doing this podcast. You know, we're over 140 episodes in. at this
140
point.
now?
Yeah, it just keeps.
Jeez, time's ticking.
Yeah. So, and every guest that we have in, they say the same thing. They come on and they say, you know, we've been thinking about doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody feels like they have a podcast.
Well, right,
now.
and just excited about the possibilities, especially when they kind of like see our show and how fun. You know, everybody likes to talk about themselves and their story, and it's a great way to put out good stuff.
I just saw Alyssa Milano has a podcast. So if Alyssa Milano has a podcast and
You
you don't
can,
have
too.
a podcast, yeah, you should really get
Jump
one.
on.
Here's the thing, though. This is a great way if you are an artist or an entertainer or an arts or entertainment organization to stay in touch with your fans, to communicate with them. Maybe you're a comedian like you, Tonya, right? And people see you every so often. You know, every couple of months they come out and see you, and you want a way to engage with them more often. Or you're a museum, or you're a theater, and it's the off season, or you're a restaurant. People come out to visit you every couple of months. A podcast is a great way to stay top of mind and talk about the things that, frankly, your fans are
They
interested
want to
in.
hear. Yeah, it's an intimate way to communicate.
So we've set up a company to help arts and entertainment organizations launch podcasts of their own, because we know it's tough, and we've done it for.
Gotten pretty good at this.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. You can get all the details at MichiganPodcastProductions.com. Take a look. If it's something you're interested in, let us know.
This is the deep.
Detroit.
This is the deep brief.
There it is, show number 2.
Woo! Good time.
Yeah, good stuff, right?
You know you want one of these.
It's a lot of fun. I like
is.
to be a guest.
Yeah, right.
I'll be a guest anytime.
Right,
You
right.
don't want to do the work. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we can.
I got
help you.
enough on my plate.
All right, look, we know we talk about a lot on this show. If you want links to everything that we talk about, all you got to do is go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com. While you're there, sign up for the email list, and we will email you everything that's going on around town.
Yep, or just pull out your phone, text Detroit to 444-999.
All right, Tonya, before we get out of here, we've got one last thing for you to do. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
We are going to ask you for a series of rapid-fire recommendations, and I just want you to tell us the first thing that comes to mind. You worked in radio,
I did.
and you're a Specs Howard grad as well.
RTV 1294.
Hey.
Shout out.
Wow.
So let me ask, do you have a favorite Detroit radio disc jockey?
I absolutely do. Screamin' Scott Randall on WRIF. I listened to him forever, and he was the first on-air talent that I worked with when I was driving the van interning for Z-Rock. He was the first on-air personality I went to a bar night with, and I was just over the moon because I'd been listening to him on the air for years.
That's
cool.
cool.
Meeting one of your idols, I guess, right?
You're a writer. Are there any Detroit writers or Michigan writers? We'll make it Michigan writers that you're a fan of.
Mitch Albom.
Good one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a favorite Mitch album, either book or piece or.
He was at a show when I first started out. He was at one of the comedy shows, and he actually gave me a nice compliment on my writing, and so that was like the best thing ever. But I think it's Weekends with Maury.
The Tuesdays with
Tuesdays,
Maury. Yes,
yeah,
that's what it
right.
is.
Weekends at Bernie's.
Yeah, right.
Maury's,
Very different.
Maury's busy on weekends.
Right. Only Tuesdays. Only
Yeah,
Tuesdays.
great book.
So you talk a lot about dating in your set. What's a fun date to you in Detroit? Where would you take a date if you wanted to kind of impress them and have a good time?
There's so many places downtown now. I mean, just to walk around, Campus Martius and see the sights, walk along the river. I mean, there's so many great restaurants down there. So I would definitely want to go have, lunch, dinner, whatever down there and check out the sights.
Nice.
You're from the area, Michigan or Michigan State, and why?
I have to say Michigan State because my uncle Jim, who is also my godfather, who has come to numerous shows, is a Michigan State grad as well as my cousin Chris. So I would have to say Michigan State or they would disown me.
Okay, fair enough. Name a Detroiter that we should all be following on Twitter.
Oh, boy. You ask tough questions. A Detroiter that you should all be following.
Or Instagram, either way.
I mean, there's so many great comedians in town. There's a lot of comedians that are really doing great things. I mean, Dave Landau that you mentioned is doing great things in this town. J. Chris Newberg, that's hometown. Trying to think. There's so many great Detroit comics. I would say follow a lot of Detroit comics.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about wine. Do you drink beer?
I drink more of the cider beers now.
You have a favorite Michigan cider?
I really like Blake's hard cider.
If you had your own line of Detroit T-shirts, seemingly everybody does, what would be your logo on there?
I would have to say it was my birthday.
Yeah. I
don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Plug for the album
Plug.
title.
But I mean, seriously, that could be pretty popular. I think.
Do you have, because a lot of comedians now have T-shirts with a line from
some kind of merch.
their act. Yeah.
I have koozies. I have koozies that say it was my birthday on one side and my name and logo, Tonya Murray, on the other.
This is how you keep your Blake cider cool?
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
It
That's what-
not only fits a can, it fits a bottle.
Right.
So,
Oh, look at that. It's a dual
Multi-purpose.
purpose.
I like it.
come to a show, you can pick one up.
What is the thing about Detroit that you brag to your out-of-town friends about?
Just how many things there are to do downtown. My sister came here from New York, had never been here, took her down. We went to a Tigers game. We went down to Greektown. I'm like, you always hear all these awful things on the news. I want you to see how cool it is, how great people are, how nice everybody is to each other. And they were just blown away when they came down.
All right.
Good.
Great job. There you go. Tonya Murray, thank you so much for coming on the show. The new album, the debut album,
Yes.
is It Was My Birthday. Where can people pick it up?
They can pick it up online. It's on all the streaming sites. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, all that good stuff.
And if they want to follow you on social media or find you online?
TonyaMurray.com. My schedule is always on my website. And then I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Rowdy Tonya. It's Rowdy with an I.
And the big show's coming up at the Holly Hotel.
June 21st and 22nd. Get your tickets ahead of time.
And I know I keep saying this, but if you've never headed up there, make a day of it and then make an evening of it.
Such a cool town,
It's a-
especially
Yeah,
in the
it's very
summer.
charming.
Yes.
Yeah, have
And-
dinner first at the Holly Hotel. Great food.
And see the show.
Absolutely.
It's a great room to see it.
Thank you guys for having me on. It was really fun.
Thanks for coming.
All right, and don't forget, on Friday, we have Paul Reiser Jr. from Techtown, Detroit. He's going to talk about the Motown Musician Accelerator Program. Until then, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Hi, Craig Foley here. If you're listening to the Debrief podcast, well, I've got two things to say to you. One, you have impeccable taste. Two, you care about the community that is Metro Detroit. That's why I think you'd appreciate my daily show, The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit. Every weekday, I tackle the big issues in politics, business, arts and culture, sports. Whatever's on the mind of Detroiters and Michiganders, we will talk about it. It's all open for discussion. And keep this in mind, news doesn't have to be boring. Sure, we talk about serious stories and we have interviews and commentary, but we do it in a way that, if I'm doing my job right, is informative but also entertaining. Check out The Craig Foley Show on Deadline Detroit for news, knowledge, hopefully some fun tossed in.